Advocate Zandile Mshololo, who represents accused number 5 in the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial, has wrapped up her cross-examination of forensic detective Thabo Mosia. Mshololo, again pointed to contradictions between what he previously told the court and a statement deposed by Brigadier Ndlovu, who was one of the first police officers at the scene. Ndlovu passed away before the trial began. Mosia had previously told the court that Brigadier Ndlovu had signed his crime scene report.
So where is the signature there?
Jwale, who a guy's signature?
It's not there.
It is not here. The signature is not here.
Thank you. So what you were telling the court was not correct.
So se buileng bopakeng ba hao bo setlotlolong ha se nnete.
Portion Brigadier Ndlovu I tlatsitseng mo scene reporting yaka. Ke acknowledgement ya hore ke fitlile crime scene ka kopana le yena.
The portion where Brigadier Ndlovu filled in on this document is an acknowledgement that he is the one who received and welcomed me at the scene.
Lendawo ke noma la abhale khona uBrigadier Ndlovu ila le ichaza khona ke ukuthi uma ngifika lapho ngathola yena umuntu owangamukela.
Okay. Mr. Mosia, please don't confuse yourself. Okay? In your examination in chief, when you were led by the State Council, you said Brigadier Ndlovu signed on my report to show that he is the one who was giving your instructions.
Bopaking ba hao bo setlotlolong o buile ka tsela e tjena. Brigadier Ndlovu wa o qotsa jwale o ile a tekena statement kapa report yaka go bontsha hore ke yena a neng a mpha ditaelo.
And that report you were referring to is the one that you showed us yesterday.
And a report jwale re hlokomela e o ne o bua ka yona nako eo ke yona e leng hore maobane o re file yona. That is correct.
And in that report there is nowhere Brigadier Ndlovu signed in.
Well, for more on the story, we cross now to senior reporter Chriselda Lewis, who's been covering the case for us. Chriselda, a very good afternoon. So what happened after Mshololo wrapped up the cross-examination?
No, but just before we get to that had basically summed up what the cross-examination of Advocate Zandile Mshololo was in trying to poke holes in the initial testimony of the forensic detective Thabo Mosia, in that you'd recall he had told this court that even at some point he'd handed over the crime scene to Brigadier Ndlovu, and that it was Ndlovu who actually showed him some of the exhibits and showed him where to take photographs when he arrived at the crime scene. So Advocate Zandile Mshololo trying to point to that statement once again that was deposed by Brigadier Ndlovu, in which nowhere he says in it that he assisted Mosia in any way with anything at the crime scene, because he was not in charge of that particular crime scene. And then after she had wrapped up, we saw the instructing attorney for accused 1 to 4, Timothy Tobane, stand up next. He basically focused much of his cross-examination on the manner in which Mosia handled the crime scene. He also pointed to the fact, asking him questions on whether a cap that he had found at the crime scene, whether he had taken that cap and put it into an envelope and had sealed it. Timothy Tobane basically saying that he plans to bring evidence to show what the procedure was when an officer initially arrives at the crime scene and what procedure was supposed to be followed, questioning essentially the procedure that was followed by Mosia himself. What Mosia then responded by saying was, when he was questioned about where the photograph was that showed that he had sealed this cap in this envelope, Mosia says the mistake that he made was that he did not take a picture after he had sealed that cap in the envelope. So much of the cross-examination of Timothy Tobane focusing on the manner in which Mosia had handled the evidence that he had taken at the crime scene. Just before we went to the lunch break, re-examination by the state prosecutor, Advocate Advocate George Baloy, and he had been showing photographs inside court that were taken at the crime scene. And quite startling, just before we went to the break, was when Advocate George Baloy had asked Mosia that when he arrived at the crime scene, is there anyone who had showed him where the bullet hole was? He said no. And when he was also asked whether when he left the crime scene, initially after the first time he had gone to the crime scene, after he had left, does he know where any of the occupants that were inside the house at the time that Senzo Meyiwa was killed, does he know where they were confined to which space inside the house they were confined to when he decided to leave the crime scene? He said that he does not recall. So certainly what has been pointed to here and has been a bone of contention since the start of the trial, certainly on the part of the defense, was that the forensic detective Thabo Mosia did not handle the crime scene properly, and that's what has there's been a consistent reference to in part of what the defense has been trying to pursue in this matter.
All right, Chriselda, thank you very much for that feedback on that case.